welcome to Giant Strides, where we shine a light on the people and projects transforming Nigeria. This weekly program is proudly sponsored by the Niger Delta Power Holding Company Limited, NDPHC, under the leadership of Engineer Jennifer Adighije. My name is Dorothy Monday. In a nation powered by dreams, one organization has been lighting up lives for 20 years. The Niger Delta Power Holding Company Limited, NDPHC, has been at the forefront of Nigeria's energy revolution through the National Integrated Power Project. From bustling cities to remote villages, their work touches millions. Today we celebrate 2 decades of progress and the bold leadership driving NDPHC into a brighter future. Today we dive into their most transformative milestone, spotlighting Engineer Jennifer Adighije, the dynamic leader steering NDPHC through bold reforms in her first year as Managing Director. Let's dive in.
From powering Nigeria, lighting the way. For 20 years, NDPHC has been the spark of progress. Since 2005, NDPHC has powered Nigeria's dreams through the National Integrated Power Project, with 10 mega power plants and a vision for progress. 1 year ago, a new spark ignited Nigeria's power sector. Engineer Jennifer Adighije took the helm as MD and CEO of the Niger Delta Power Holding Company. From generation to transmission to distribution, our core values drive us: professionalism, integrity, teamwork, creativity, accountability, and respect. With 85% of generation projects, 90% of transmission, and 96% of distribution projects complete, we're building a stronger, electrified Nigeria. With vision and innovation, Engineer Adighije and her team have electrified progress. In just 1 year, she led the restoration of 5 turbine units, adding 625 megawatts to our national grid capacity, powering homes and dreams. Her leadership has driven sustainable energy solutions, empowering communities and transforming lives across Nigeria. Recognized globally as a top 100 influential voice of 2025, Engineer Adighije is charging toward a brighter, stronger Nigeria, aligned with the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Join us in celebrating 20 years of powering progress.
Manufacturers in Kano State have signaled their intention to bypass the electricity distribution companies and source power directly from the Niger Delta Power Holding Company Limited, NDPHC. The move, according to the Kano chapter of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, is aimed at tackling the severe electricity shortages that have hampered industrial productivity and stifled growth in the state's manufacturing sector. NDPHC's Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Engineer Jennifer Adighije, assured the manufacturers of the company's readiness to partner with them under the eligible customer framework. She explained that the initiative will not only drive industrial growth, but also create jobs and strengthen socio-economic development nationwide. Adighije added that the recent revival of key assets, including the Omotosho and Alaoji power plants, has boosted NDPHC's generation capacity, positioning the company to meet the energy needs of industrial off-takers once regulatory approvals are secured. The 20-member MAN delegation, led by the Managing Director of Dala Foods, Alim Madugu, formally requested direct power purchase from NDPHC, stressing that access to reliable electricity is critical for reviving industries and sustaining jobs in Kano. Supporting the proposal, NDPHC's Executive Directors of Corporate Service and Networks, Omorege Obedi, Ihama, and Bello Babayo Bello, outlined a roadmap for manufacturers to benefit from the company's power supply opportunities. The development comes as NDPHC plans to release and commercialize about 200 megawatts of its stranded 2,000 megawatts of electricity capacity by the end of 2025. Since its inception in 2005, NDPHC has been the steward of the National Integrated Power Project, NIPP, a bold initiative launched in 2004 to tackle Nigeria's chronic power shortages. With over 500 billion naira invested in transmission infrastructure alone, NDPHC has built 10 power plants, adding over 4,000 megawatts of capacity to the national grid.
For the benefit of hindsight, let me mention that the NIPP was conceived as a fast-track initiative of the government to scale power generation and the associated transmission and distribution infrastructure networks. And the NDPHC was incorporated as that special purpose vehicle to drive the NIPP. And we've never lost sight of this mandate. Over the last 20 years, we have invested copiously across the gas to electricity value chain. As a matter of fact, no entity in the public or private space has invested as copiously as NDPHC. Our investments span the length and breadth of Nigeria. In the transmission segment alone, we've successfully executed over 50 substations, 330 kV, 132 kV substations, line bay extensions, transformers, and we've actually contributed over 5,000 MVA in terms of transformer capacity in the transmission sector alone. And these are projects that are being enjoyed by TCN and for the benefit of Nigerians. And generally, in the distribution segment as well, we have contributed projects that impact all the 11 discos in Nigeria. And so we pride ourselves in being that entity of the government that is driving and scaling and bridging power sector infrastructure gaps. You know, in spite of the challenges in this sector, we've never lost sight of our goal as an interventionist agency, and we're spearheading power sector reforms. The last 1 year has been very eventful. It's been a remarkable journey. It hasn't been free of obstacles, but I have no regrets whatsoever, because in navigating the obstacles, you know, we've been able to devise adaptive means and adaptive coping mechanisms that ensure that we successfully surmount these obstacles. As you know, the NESI is rapidly evolving, and particularly with the passing of the Electricity Act 2023, you know, the market has become even more dynamic, and then we're also evolving with the market. So in 1 year, we've made a whole lot of progress. I came on board with a clear vision, and the vision was essentially to optimize the performance of our assets. And I can say that, you know, in 1 year, we came up with a robust recovery plan for reviving our dormant turbine units and power plants. And we've hit some major milestones in that regard. We're able to recover 1 unit in Calabar NIPP, where we successfully concluded a HGPI hot gas path inspection. We're also able to recover 1 unit in Sapele NIPP, where we're able to revive the units which was defective basically because we had accessory gearbox bearing failures. We're also able to revive 2 units in Honvor Benin NIPP, where we had vibration and alignment issues. And we're also able to revive 1 unit in Omotosho NIPP, where we successfully did filter upgrades and filter changes. And so across the entire fleet, I can say that we're able to recover about 600 megawatts, which has added to our mechanical availability and is also contributing significantly also to the sector-wide performance. You know, as you know, this year, sometime in March this year, we hit a milestone power generation milestone power generation in terms of 6,000 megawatts target that was set by the ministry. And I can say that NDPHC contributed very significantly to this. So across the fleet, we've improved our mechanical availability and our load factors. And it's all thanks to the recovery plan that we put in place when we came on board. We've also embarked on an asset recovery program. So we had a number of our assets that were abandoned at the ports, which we have now recovered also, which we can use, to complete our ongoing projects. And that saved the company billions of naira, with the support of the Nigeria Customs Service. We're able to recover these assets, that were lying across the ports. We're also able to introduce technology, for digital transformation to streamline our processes and to bring about efficiency of our standard operating and O&M practices. And this has also helped us to significantly reduce our insurance premiums. And lastly, I would say that we've done a lot in terms of a cultural shift in the organization. We're providing enablers also for staff to be more productive. So these are some of the major milestones that we've achieved in my 1 year in office,
Thank you so
in
much.
spite of the challenges.
In August 2024, Engineer Jennifer Adighije took the helm of NDPHC, bringing the vision of reform and resilience. In just 1 year, she revived dormant power plants, boosted revenue, and set the company on a path to sustainability.
In every organization, to have successful reforms is driven by the workforce because they are the change agents of the organization. And so when I came on board, I came with a vision and we hit the ground running with this vision. And the vision was anchored on 3 pillars. Pillar number 1, which is to optimize the performance of our power plants to ramp up our revenues. Pillar number 2 was to optimize our processes to drive operational efficiency. And then pillar number 3 was to leverage our human capital and technology to drive and sustain long-term transformation. And then this vision was clearly communicated, cascading through the entire organization. And I must give credit to my staff because they keyed in and were all aligning, our objectives, to ensure that we were able to transform the vision to reality. So you would see a lot of vertical and horizontal integration within the organization, across the business units, across the directorates. The staff are fully aligned and fully on board, and we're steadily progressing and working towards hitting those milestones. And these are the reasons we're able to sustain and achieve, the progress that we've made in the last 1 year. Over the years, I've been very intentional about building my leadership capital. So if you look at my career trajectory, from the private sector to my entrepreneurial journey to my entry into the public sector where I managed procurement in the Central Bank of Nigeria, I had always anchored, my personal philosophy of leadership on 2 key pillars, and that's leadership by inclusion and leadership by inspiration. Because I believe that the hallmark of transformational leadership lies in the ability to inspire, your team members. And that's what I've been able to leverage to be able to drive my team the way that I have. And so for me, leadership is essentially leading by example. And that's what I align with. And of course, which aligns with the core values. I have a very high value system, and which also aligns with the core values of the organization, which is professionalism, integrity, teamwork, respect, accountability, and creativity. And, every staff, like I mentioned earlier, has keyed into this vision and the core values. And, we're steadily creating a new mindset shift in the organization, and the staff are steadily working towards achieving all that we've set as a new team and a new management.
By prioritizing bilateral contracts, NDPHC has unlocked stranded power, delivering electricity to industrial clusters and communities. This reform has boosted investor confidence and put NDPHC on a path to financial resilience.
As part of the concept of the NIPP, so the initial concept of the NIPP was that in phase 1, the phase 1 will be power generation from fossil fuels, which is essentially the gas-fired power plants. And then the NIPP phase 2, which would be a transition, in line with the energy transition plan, would be to do power generation from renewable energy sources. And under my leadership, we're already transitioning to that era. And we're collaborating very strongly with state governments. We're collaborating very strongly with our sister agencies like NASENI, where we recently signed a joint development agreement to deploy solar-powered embedded electricity power plants to power the Chalawa Industrial District in Kano. And, for us, the commercial and industrial clusters are very crucial because of the role that industrialization plays in driving sustainable socio-economic development. And we do know that electricity would power productivity, and productivity will power economic growth. And so we're positioning very strongly in that space to rely on renewable energy, solar generation, particularly up north, to power our industrial clusters and ensure that we're able to touch lives and uplift communities and businesses very meaningfully.
One of NDPHC's biggest challenges is a liquidity crisis with over 4 trillion naira owed to generation companies. Adigije's team is tackling this head-on.
It's a liquidity crisis, and it's a sector-wide crisis. As you know, at the last reconciliation that was done, the government owes the power generation companies about 4 trillion naira, and NDPHC's exposure is about 600 billion. But in spite of this, we will continue to spearhead, power sector infrastructure development, because that's what we're positioning to do, and we're positioning very strongly. And in doing this, we're able to strategically partner with private entities, with our sister agencies, with development partners, to ensure that we're able to deploy minimal resources and recoup maximum returns. The government has made some significant moves very recently. Sometime last year, Mr. President called Genco CEOs and gave us the assurance, that the debt crisis would soon be a thing of the past. And so that is very comforting, and that encourages us, to continue to, aspire to fulfill our mandate. And we've never for a time considered, not doing what we're supposed to do, or it's not a limitation, it's not a restriction. We'll continue to fulfill our mandate. I was born into a family of boys, and then I found myself in the engineering field, in the Faculty of Engineering, University of Lagos, where we could count the number of girls. So I've never felt out of place. For me, it's never been about male domination, because I've always been able to fit myself in. But let me just use this opportunity to also thank Mr. President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu for entrusting me with this responsibility, to lead such a pivotal entity of the government, managing our federation assets. And I take full responsibility, and I'm committed, and for me, going into the second and third year is with a renewed commitment, to the Renewed Hope agenda. Leading this entity, we will continue to ensure that we drive growth, and we will continue to ensure that, Mr. President's Renewed Hope priority or cardinal agenda for this sector, which is to enable universal access to electricity, that NDPHC will continue to be the front runner. And so in looking ahead, I'm very optimistic. We're fully committed, and we're driving with every sense of zeal and every sense of will to ensure that we can deliver that quality, reliable, and cost-effective electricity to the last mile Nigerians.
From powering Nigeria, lighting the way. For 20 years, NDPHC has been the spark of progress. Since 2005, NDPHC has powered Nigeria's dreams through the National Integrated Power Project, with 10 mega power plants and a vision for progress. 1 year ago, a new spark ignited Nigeria's power sector. Engineer Jennifer Adighije took the helm as MD and CEO of the Niger Delta Power Holding Company. From generation to transmission to distribution, our core values drive us: professionalism, integrity, teamwork, creativity, accountability, and respect. With 85% of generation projects, 90% of transmission, and 96% of distribution projects complete, we're building a stronger, electrified Nigeria. With vision and innovation, Engineer Adighije and her team have electrified progress. In just 1 year, she led the restoration of 5 turbine units, adding 625 megawatts to our national grid capacity, powering homes and dreams. Her leadership has driven sustainable energy solutions, empowering communities and transforming lives across Nigeria. Recognized globally as a top 100 influential voice of 2025, Engineer Adighije is charging toward a brighter, stronger Nigeria, aligned with the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Join us in celebrating 20 years of powering progress.
Looking ahead, Engineer Jennifer Adighije envisions a commercially sustainable NDPHC leading Nigeria's energy transition with renewable projects and a skilled, inclusive workforce. The journey is far from over, but the strides are undeniable. For 20 years, NDPHC has powered Nigeria's progress, and under Engineer Jennifer Adigije's leadership, the future is brighter than ever. From reviving idle plants to empowering communities, NDPHC is more than a power company. It's a beacon of hope. And that's all for this episode of Giant Strides. Join us next time as we explore more stories of progress and transformation across Nigeria. Until then, keep shining and let's keep taking those giant strides together. My name is Dorothy Monday. Bye for now.